triangle trigonometry. The objective of this lesson is for you to be able to find the sine, cosine, or tangent of an acute angle of a right triangle. Now, the word trigonometry comes from two Greek terms, trigon, which means triangle, and metric or metron, which means measure. So the word trigonometry means triangle measurement. And we are going to be looking at the study of triangle measurement. Now let's first review the parts of a triangle. We have the hypotenuse of a triangle, and it's always across from the right angle symbol. We have opposite side. The opposite side is across from the acute angle we are looking at or in question. We're going to be focusing on acute angles inside the right triangle. And adjacent side means the side of the angle which is not the hypotenuse, and it's also not across the angle. So adjacent, it's called adjacent because it's actually right next to the acute angle. So if we were to review this, we would see that adjacent would be the side that's next to the acute angle, but not the hypotenuse, so it goes right here. Hypotenuse, of course, is always the side length that's across the right angle symbol, and opposite is the side length that is opposite the acute angle. So here we have adjacent, hypotenuse, and opposite. Again, here we have adjacent. Adjacent goes right next to the acute angle, but not the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse, of course, is the slanted side that is across the right angle symbol, and opposite is the side that is opposite the acute angle. Trig functions or trig ratios. They study the ratio of the sides of triangles. So the sine function is the ratio of the opposite side. So remember, we have that triangle. We have a triangle, and it has to be a right angle. Let's say this is the acute angle. The sine function is opposite, which is right here. I'm going to put OPP for opposite. Opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine function is the ratio of the opposite side over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent, which is this side. It's the ratio of the adjacent side over hypotenuse. And tangent is the ratio of the opposite side over the adjacent side. We're going to be learning about these ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent. We can also abbreviate them. Sine as SIN, cosine can be abbreviated as COS, and tangent can be abbreviated as TAN. So the sine of 30, you would go to 30, so I'm going to circle 30 because that's the one we're looking at. And remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. It's the ratio of the opposite side over hypotenuse. Well, what's opposite the 30-degree angle? That's right, 1. Over hypotenuse. Well, hypotenuse is always the side that's opposite or across the 90-degree symbol, so 1 over 2. So the sine of 30 degrees is 1 over 2. Now we're looking at the tangent. The tangent of 60 degrees. Well, tangent is opposite over adjacent. Well, what's opposite the 60-degree angle? Radical 3. What's adjacent to the 60-degree angle? 1. We don't choose 2 because 2 is hypotenuse. So 1. Radical 3 over 1, of course, is just radical 3. So your answer is C. Now we're looking at the cosine of 30. Well, remember, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So 30 degrees, radical 3 is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 2. So radical 3 over 2. A great way to remember these is by using SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. That's a way of remembering this trig functions. If you remember this abbreviation, it will help you a lot. So it would be SOHCAHTOA. The S stands for sine. So when you're looking at sine, you're always going to be looking at opposite over hypotenuse. OH stands for opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine function is always equal to the sine function So the sine of any angle is always equal to opposite over hypotenuse. That's why we have OH, opposite over hypotenuse. The C is for cosine. Cosine says ka, or AH. That stands for adjacent over hypotenuse. And then we have tangent. Tangent says toa, OA, so it's opposite over adjacent. So now you are ready to do some examples. Let's say we have a triangle. A right triangle. And we have the side lengths 15 and 8 and 17. And we're looking at this angle, x. The sine of x would be equal to, of course, remember, SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite x is 15 and the hypotenuse is 17. So the sine of x is 15 over 17. The cosine of x, ka, AH, it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine of x is 8 over 17. And then we have the tangent of x. And that's opposite over adjacent. And that's 15 over 8.